In the past 48 hours, documents have come to light that make one thing absolutely undeniable. The council, the establishment, the entire retail sector, they have all been watching the wrong person. Everyone had their eyes on Jeremy Clarkson. The enormous coat, the shouting at broken machinery. "I'm a farmer now," he kept saying, completely shattered by it. The ongoing war with West Oxfordshire District Council. It made for compelling television. It still does. Season 5 just hit Amazon Prime, pulling in millions of simultaneous viewers across the globe. But while the council was handing Clarkson enforcement notices, while the national press was snapping photographs of him losing arguments in front of planning committees, Lisa Hogan was doing something else entirely. She was constructing an empire that does not require anyone's permission. And what has only just become apparent from planning filings, companies' house records, and commercial documents that no mainstream outlet has yet joined together is that Lisa Hogan has been working 5 separate loopholes at the same time, each one engineered to keep the business generating income regardless of what any council, regulator, or establishment figure chooses to throw at it. She did this quietly, without headlines, while her partner absorbed every single blow. The people who believed they were winning were not even playing the same game. Welcome back to Clarkson's Empire. If you enjoy what we do here, please hit subscribe. We are just a few followers short of 14,000, and every single one matters. Let us get there today. Let us begin at the actual origin of this story, because the founding of Diddley Squat Farm Shop is not what you have been told. The version that circulated publicly goes something like this. Clarkson opened the farm shop in 2020 because he had produce he could not shift anywhere else. He nailed a sign to a gate. People showed up. Lisa happened to be around to help keep things running. That is not what the planning documents say. The original application for the farm shop was submitted in 2019, quietly, through an agent, filed with West Oxfordshire District Council under, note the language, a lambing shed and farm shop including car parking and associated access. The council raised barely any objections. It moved through with almost no scrutiny, because on paper it looked exactly like what hundreds of other Cotswolds farms do. A small outbuilding, a bit of local produce. Nothing remarkable. Nothing requiring extended examination. What Lisa Hogan understood before almost everybody else is something that planning lawyers took years to properly articulate in public. A farm shop holding granted planning permission is effectively a protected foundation. The council can argue about what is sold inside it. They can challenge car parks and access roads and food vans, but the core permission, once granted, does not simply evaporate. The establishment handed Clarkson's operation a foundation stone dressed up as a routine agricultural application, and Lisa knew precisely what to build on top of it. That farm shop took 1,000 pounds on its very first day. Selling potatoes, one product, 1,000 pounds per day. The queue ran past the car park and out onto the road. People came from London, from Manchester, from Scotland, to buy a bag of potatoes with a handwritten sign above them. Lisa Hogan stood behind that counter and grasped immediately that what they had was not a farm shop. It was a destination, and destinations operate under entirely different commercial rules from retail. Here is the first loophole, and it is the one that fundamentally altered the legal position of the entire Diddley Squat operation, when the council moved against it. When West Oxfordshire District Council refused planning permission for a restaurant at Diddley Squat, every farmer watching assumed the fight was over. The council had said no. That should have been the end of it. Planning refusals in areas of outstanding natural beauty are notoriously hard to overturn. The council had leverage, and they fully intended to use it. Lisa Hogan and her team went and found something buried inside the Town and Country Planning General Permitted Development Order 2015, Class R, Schedule 2, Part 3. The Times referred to it at the time as a cunning little loophole. That description does not do it justice. Class R permits the change of use of an agricultural building and the land immediately surrounding it to a commercial purpose. Not simply a shop, a commercial purpose. Hotels, restaurants, cafes, gyms, assembly spaces, and leisure facilities. A category wide enough to accommodate almost any revenue-generating activity imaginable. And critically, Class R falls under permitted development rights, meaning you notify the council, you do not ask them, you inform them, and their grounds for objecting are considerably more restricted than under a full planning application. The council had spent significant time and significant public money refusing a restaurant. Class R allowed the conversion of an agricultural building to precisely that use, within a legal structure the council found far harder to challenge. This is not a loophole in the sense of a trick or an exploit. It is a legal framework that Parliament designed specifically to support farmers diversifying their income. It exists in black and white, but it requires someone to know it exists, to understand how to apply it, and to have the nerve to deploy it while simultaneously handling enforcement notices on other parts of the same site. Lisa Hogan deployed it. The operation continued. The business did not collapse because the restaurant was refused. It adapted. It kept running. It kept earning. Because she had mapped the route around the obstruction before the obstruction was even fully constructed. While the cameras filmed Clarkson in a rage about planning decisions, Lisa was in the background quietly restructuring the legal foundation of the business in a way that would outlast whatever the cameras happened to be capturing. That is the first loophole, but it is not the most impressive one. Here is where this becomes genuinely remarkable, because the second loophole is not about planning law at all. It is about taking the enemy's own weapon and turning it back on them. When the planning inspector delivered his ruling on the full diddly squat operation in 2023, he granted permission for the farm shop and cafe, but attached a condition. Products sold in the shop had to originate either on Diddly Squat Farm itself or within a 16-mile radius of the site. Nothing beyond that boundary. The council intended this as a hard cap, a mechanism to prevent the farm shop from becoming a general retailer that simply happened to occupy agricultural land. Lisa Hogan converted it into the entire brand positioning strategy. Consider for a moment what produced within 16 miles actually communicates to a customer standing in a queue outside a Cotswolds farm shop. It does not suggest a limited range. It signals genuinely local. It signals provenance that can actually be verified. It signals that the money you spend goes directly to the specific farms on land you can see from where you are standing. That language is now woven into the Diddly Squat brand identity. The 16-mile radius, born from a planning condition imposed by people who wanted to restrict the business, has become a premium quality marker that no supermarket in Britain can match. Tesco would love to tell its customers that every product comes from within 16 miles of wherever they are shopping. They cannot say that. Diddly Squat can, because of a planning condition designed to damage them. The council handed Lisa Hogan a premium brand position that no conventional marketing budget could have bought, and she saw exactly what it was and what it was worth. The moment the condition was drafted, the restriction became the selling point. The limitation became the luxury signal, the weapon reversed. Back to the loopholes, because the third one is the one that attracted the most press attention, and it cost almost nothing to execute. In January 2020, the American lifestyle brand Goop, run by Gwyneth Paltrow, released a product that stopped the internet in its tracks. A scented candle called "This Smells Like My Vagina." The press coverage that followed was astonishing. Millions of articles ran globally. The candle sold out within hours of going live. The free publicity generated by that single product name was worth many multiples of what a conventional advertising campaign would have cost. The lesson for any brand paying attention was simple. A product name that makes people laugh gets shared. A product that gets shared generates coverage that costs you nothing. And coverage that costs you nothing produces margins that conventionally advertised products cannot touch. Lisa Hogan was paying attention. Diddly Squat Farm Shop released a candle. She called it "This Smells Like My Bollocks." Priced at £22, it generated press coverage across Britain, across Ireland, and across America that would have required hundreds of thousands of pounds to purchase through conventional channels. But here is what separates this from clever to genuinely strategic. Lisa did not treat the candle as a one-time stunt. She recognized she had discovered a product naming framework. Every product whose name makes someone want to photograph it and send it to a friend is a product that advertises itself. Every name that captures something of Clarkson's television personality converts the audience's impulse to share something funny into a distribution mechanism that costs the business absolutely nothing. Cow juice vodka, ghost chili chutney, bee juice honey, shockingly good hand-cooked crisps. Every name is memorable. Every name is shareable. Every name does exactly what a marketing department would charge millions to achieve. Except there is no marketing department. There is a woman from Dublin who understands what makes people reach for their phones. 250,000 people visit Diddly Squat Farm Shop every year. That figure comes directly from planning documents submitted to the council. 250,000 people making a deliberate trip to a farm on a country lane near Chipping Norton. Not a city center, not a retail park, a farm. That number exists because Lisa built something people tell other people about, because the products have names people share, and sharing costs nothing. The marketing budget for Diddly Squat is not zero, it is negative. The products generate their own coverage, and the coverage generates the footfall. Now let us talk about the fourth loophole, because this is the one that business analysts have been attempting to make sense of since it was announced. It is a structural advantage that by rights should not be possible, and yet it works. In April 2024, Amazon Fresh announced it would carry Diddly Squat Farm Shop products on its platform, online and inside physical Amazon Fresh stores across Britain. A dedicated section for the full Diddly Squat range. Jams, chutneys, rapeseed oils, crisps, honey, beef jerky, and the complete merchandise line, all available through the most powerful retail and logistics network on the planet. On the surface, that reads like a distribution deal, a brand securing shelf space. It happens all the time. Look at the structure and you find something that has never existed before in British farming. Amazon Prime Video pays Jeremy Clarkson somewhere between 10 and 12 million pounds a year to produce a television program watched by millions of people worldwide. That program makes the Diddly Squat brand famous. Millions of viewers across 5 series become completely familiar with the products, the story, and the people behind it all. And then Amazon, the very same company, turns around and sells those products to those exact viewers through its retail division. Amazon paid to manufacture the demand. Amazon is now capturing the revenue from that demand, and sitting at the center of that arrangement, earning from both sides, is the Diddly Squat brand that Lisa Hogan built. There is no comparable arrangement anywhere in British food and drink. You cannot engineer it from scratch. You cannot buy it. It exists because Amazon Prime Video commissioned Clarkson's farm before anyone grasped the commercial consequences. And by the time those consequences became visible, the brand was already famous and the deal was already in place. The quote in Amazon's official press release announcing the Fresh listing belongs to Lisa Hogan. She is the named representative of Diddly Squat Farm Shop in that announcement. What that listing delivers is something most retailers spend decades chasing: national distribution overnight, on the infrastructure of the world's most capable logistics company, with the advertising already paid for by that same company's television arm. The council has spent years fighting about car parks and enforcement notices. Lisa secured an arrangement that renders the car park argument almost beside the point. If people cannot physically reach Diddly Squat, they can now order everything online and have Amazon deliver it to their door. The planning battles could only ever affect the physical site. The physical site, it turns out, is now optional. Here is the fifth element of this story, and it is one that nobody in business journalism has picked up. Lisa Hogan was born in Dublin. She carries an Irish passport. She is a European Union citizen. After January 2021, that fact carries commercial implications that are substantial and continuing to grow. British businesses exporting into European Union countries now navigate customs declarations, regulatory compliance requirements, and commercial complications that did not exist before Brexit. Companies looking to build meaningful EU operations face a system that was restructured around friction. The overhead is real, the complexity is real, and it compounds with every new market you attempt to enter. Irish citizens, as EU nationals, retain full freedom of movement across all 27 member states. They can establish businesses, open accounts, negotiate commercial terms, and operate freely within the EU without the friction that British nationals now encounter at every stage. The Hawkstone Brewery export operation, as we have documented on this channel, is growing at 40% year on year. The premium British brand positioning driving those exports is identical to the positioning built into every Diddly Squat product, and the person who constructed that positioning is an EU citizen, born with the right to operate freely inside every market the empire is now starting to enter. No corporate restructuring exercise could have purchased that advantage after January 2021. It was already present. It has always been present, in Lisa Hogan's passport. The system designed to restrict British farming businesses from accessing European markets has a gap in it, and Lisa Hogan was born on the correct side of that gap. Now let us examine what Season 5 has just made visible, because what the new series, which dropped on the 3rd of June, reveals about Lisa's position within the Empire is something previous seasons only hinted at. Season 5 opens with Clarkson's heart, the blocked artery. The cardiologist who told him he had come within touching distance of death. The Amazon producer who advised him not to speak at the farmers' protest. The doctor who said the same. Clarkson who went anyway. That health scare does something to the business narrative that nobody has properly confronted yet. It forces the question that every enterprise built around a single personality must eventually answer. What becomes of the empire if that person can no longer continue? And the answer concealed in the product names and the planning documents and the Amazon Fresh listing and the publishing contracts is that the Diddly Squat brand does not actually depend on Clarkson's physical presence to generate revenue. It requires his name, his story, his personality embedded within the products. The candle named after his anatomy, the honey from his bees, the crisps made from his potatoes, the chutney from his chilies. Every product is a piece of Clarkson's farm, packaged and available for purchase, without Clarkson needing to be present, healthy, or even on his feet. Lisa Hogan built a brand in which the founder's personality is so thoroughly absorbed into the product range that the products continue to carry that personality independently. That is not coincidence. That is the hardest thing in consumer branding to pull off, and she achieved it with a product range built around a man who describes himself as useless at business. There is also the book, October 2025, published by Century, an imprint of Penguin Random House, My Animals and Other Egrets. A debut book deal with one of the most powerful publishing houses in the world, one that committed serious editorial and marketing resource to Lisa Hogan's name and story, independently of Jeremy Clarkson, independently of Amazon, independently of Diddly Squat Farm Shop, and independently of anything West Oxfordshire District Council has decided or will ever decide. Penguin Random House does not advance money and commit marketing budgets to authors it does not believe will sell. The deal is itself a statement of what the publishing industry considers Lisa Hogan to be commercially worth. Caleb Cooper built exactly this kind of structural independence. 3 Penguin bestsellers, an Amazon relationship that stands apart from Clarkson's, a media profile that exists regardless of whether the show carries on, Companies House filings showing equity approaching £1 million at 26 years old. We covered that investigation on this channel, and the response was remarkable. Lisa Hogan is constructing the same kind of independence, years ahead of most people realizing she is doing it. Let us now look at what the financial picture actually shows, because the numbers emerging from the records tell a story the press has entirely overlooked. Diddly Squat Farm's total assets grew from £44,000 to £1.34 million in a single year. That growth did not come from farming. You cannot produce £1.34 million in assets from arable land in the Cotswolds in 12 months regardless of the weather. It came from building a brand that holds commercial value beyond the ground it sits on. The Emma Bridgewater collaboration announced in the past year is a telling signal of what comes next. Emma Bridgewater is among Britain's most recognizable premium pottery names. Heritage, British made, a brand whose customers make deliberate purchasing decisions based on values. A collaboration between Diddly Squat and Emma Bridgewater places both brands in the same cultural conversation. Rural British authenticity, things made properly, things worth paying more for. That collaboration is a licensing arrangement. Diddly Squat's identity-generating income from products it does not manufacture, through relationships it does not have to manage operationally, in a product category the farm would never have reached through conventional agricultural diversification. And it was Lisa's. Her background in sculpture, in design, in understanding how objects carry meaning beyond their function, applied not to a gallery wall, but to a farm shop shelf. Here is the thought that neither the council nor the retail establishment has fully absorbed. Lisa Hogan arrived at Diddly Squat, in the public version of events, as Jeremy Clarkson's partner, a former model, an actress, a sculptor, someone who happened to be present when a famous man decided to have a go at farming. What has emerged across 5 years of planning documents, Companies House filings, commercial announcements, and now Season 5 of Clarkson's Farm is something categorically different. A brand strategist who identified 5 structural advantages and deployed them simultaneously over a sustained period. A commercial mind who understood that every enforcement notice served on Clarkson was content for a television program, and that the program's audience were her customers. A business builder who converted every restriction into a feature, and every platform the show appeared on into a distribution channel. She found the planning framework that kept the business running when the council tried to close it. She found the restriction the council imposed and turned it into a premium quality signal no supermarket can replicate. She found the naming strategy that generated millions in coverage without spending a pound on advertising. She found the arrangement that converted the company financing the television show into her national distribution partner. And she was born carrying a passport that gives the brand structural access to every market the empire is now starting to reach. The council served enforcement notices. Lisa filed Class R notifications. The council imposed a 16-mile boundary. Lisa printed it on the label as a feature. The industry assumed she was the supporting act. She was building the infrastructure. What Clarkson said in Season 5 deserves to be heard again, carefully. He said most farms do not have a television show to keep them afloat. He admitted publicly, on the world's largest streaming platform, that Diddly Squat Farm would not survive on what the land produces without the entertainment revenue sitting above it. That is the most significant thing any prominent voice in British agriculture has said in a generation. The land cannot pay. The economics do not function. But the brand Lisa Hogan built around that land, the planning frameworks, the product names, the Amazon Fresh listing, the Penguin deal, the Emma Bridgewater collaboration, the EU passport, that does not need a television show to survive. It needs the story, the name, the connection to British farming that 5 series of television have already created in the minds of millions of people, all of which already exists, all of which continues regardless of what the council decides in April, all of which survives whatever Amazon chooses to commission next. The loophole inside Clarkson's empire is not a clause in the general permitted development order. It is not a candle name. It is not a passport. It is the person the establishment never thought to look at. Here is your question for the comments below. The council spent years trying to control what Diddly Squat could sell, where it could sell it, how many people could visit, how many cars could park. Looking at everything Lisa has built around every one of those restrictions, do you think they ever truly understood what they were dealing with? Drop a comment below, tell us what you think, and tell us where you are watching from, because this channel has viewers on every continent, and the question being asked everywhere is the same one. When does a farm become a brand, and who decides? The answer, at Diddly Squat, hiding in plain sight for 5 years across planning documents and product labels and Amazon press releases and a Penguin contract, is that Lisa Hogan decided, quietly, without the establishment noticing, until it was already built. Tell us what we should look at next. See you in the next one.